I begin this evaluation of the MyBlend Cert TESOL site by explaining its limitations and its aim. As Sharp mentions, evaluation should ideally involve the intended users of the design, who in this case are the tutors and trainees on the Trinity Cert TESOL course, as well as moderators or other representatives from Trinity. Unfortunately, I've been unable to consult these users due to several factors beyond my control. However, DTCE provides reassurance that evaluation by experts, rather than users, may still usefully identify potential difficulties. He cautions, however, that such expert analysis will not assess the actual use of the system, so unfortunately I won't be able to conclude whether or not the objectives of the MyBlend site will be achieved. He also mentions that there should be several of these expert evaluators, but I've been unable to find anyone suitable to help me over the Christmas holidays. However, by adhering to certain principles of evaluation, I feel confident that I can identify some of the potential problems which may prevent the site's objectives from being achieved. I used 3 of the approaches to expert analysis presented by DTCE. The first 2 overlap somewhat, so I've combined them. I added some relevant heuristics or guidelines to the questions I asked during the cognitive walkthrough, which is a simulation of the steps an uninitiated user would take to complete a task. I also used previous studies in evaluation of blended learning to evaluate MyBlend. We will now visit the MyBlend site to see the results of the walkthrough. Although the home page is clear and gives useful general instructions about how to use the site, there's no way to return to it after moving on. There's no tab on this bar for the home page. But the other tabs here work well. It's clear where to find information about the course, syllabus, assessment, etc., and the material to be studied. The user knows they're in the right place when they see the content they expect when clicking a tab. Assuming the user wants to find out which week of the course she's in, she should be able to locate the course schedule, though perhaps that also needs a tab on this top bar, as she may need to access it often. By clicking on one of these boxes, the user can see what she should be studying. However, it may be a little late for the trainee to cover all this material before the week starts, which is the next day, so perhaps these weekly announcements should be moved earlier in the week. Also, a trainee may want to know how the course content progresses. For example, he can see that the first foreign language lesson happens on the 10th of January, and the second one is on the 13th. But when is the third one? Is there a third one, in fact? To find out, the user has to click on each day separately. Therefore, it may be beneficial to include all sessions on one page so that the trainee can see how many sessions there are for each topic and when they will happen in relation to each other. This would be especially useful when the trainees start to plan for their assignments. These NA letters appear often in the calendar, and they may distract or worry the user. They don't seem to mean anything, so I should find a way to delete them. Nielsen in Sharp mentions that simplicity should be a feature of design, and that anything that can be removed without compromising the functionality of the site should be removed. Obviously, this NA is an example. And so too is this Leave a Reply feature at the bottom of every page. There are other ways for users to communicate, namely through the forums. It would be confusing to have random comments left all over the site, so the Leave a Reply function should also go. I walked through the other pages too. The material can be accessed directly from this bar using the drop-down menu, or from the title tab for each week. I think the instructions here are clear, explaining when the tasks should be completed and how long each one should take, though perhaps this information should be repeated at the beginning of each separate task page. The Development of TESOL section contains a video. There are instructions on how to play and pause the video, which operates in the same way as on YouTube. This is a real-world convention which the user should be familiar with. When walking through the Week 3 materials, I discovered that this JMix activity doesn't work well. The orange box isn't wide enough to accommodate all the text on the 3 given lines. The check function only reads what's on the lines, so it's actually impossible to complete this task. When I created the task in Hot Potatoes, there was enough room to do this, so I guess the style sheet of my site needs to be amended. The other Hot Potato tasks work well in terms of the technology, but I would like to test them on users to make sure that they convey what I had intended. Concerning the aesthetics of the site, I like the colour scheme of this 2013 theme from WordPress, though I acknowledge that others may not. Perhaps users would appreciate more pictures too. I need to ask them. Whether the site is pleasing to look at is important. Don Norman in Sharp claims that there is a positive correlation between usability and aesthetics. I don't like the current width of the text on the pages. There's too much unused space at the sides, meaning that the user has to scroll down often, though this may suit mobile screens better. I suppose this could be fixed by changing the padding or margins in the style sheet. I didn't find any other issues in the cognitive walkthrough, but other experts may discover further problems. Another of Dix's approaches to expert evaluation recommends using previous studies. Certainly, these publications on the evaluation of blended learning have raised several questions about potential issues with the MyBlend site. Dudonay and Hockley hold the face-to-face component of their blended course before the online component, noting that several participants prefer a face-to-face introduction to the technology as well as to each other. I'd presumed that because the online component of MyBlend is interspersed with face-to-face sessions on a weekly basis, such an introduction wouldn't be necessary. However, I'd overlooked that the first 2 sets of online material should be completed before the first face-to-face meeting, so perhaps I should swap these around. I also presumed that a forum with a social purpose wasn't necessary, but Mottram points out that some people, especially if they're from different cultures, which is usually the case on the Cert TESOL, are rather slow to bond in face-to-face situations. So on his courses, online affordances are used to augment and promote social presence. Peachy recommends building online tasks around social interactivity, so perhaps I should include forums every week. But I didn't do this for several reasons. From my experience, lots of participants either don't engage well with forums, are not good at expressing themselves concisely in writing, or post off-topic responses. Heinz and Proctor's study also revealed these problems. Other participants expect the tutor to respond to posts 24/7, which is unrealistic. Both Mottram and Smith and Ragan warn against using such constructivist approaches just for the sake of it. Having all the material available at the beginning of the course allows those trainees who are willing and able to get ahead, but this may prove detrimental to their learning if they don't spend time reflecting. They also may not remember the online material during the corresponding face-to-face session, or even may feel overwhelmed by the amount of tasks, as mentioned in Dudonay and Hockley's study. Heinz and Proctor's study revealed that their learners wanted more guidance in the area of reading. but a reading list every week could overwhelm and demotivate some trainees with a perception that there's just too much to do. Finally, Douglas and Patton found it necessary to monitor their trainees' online attendance and participation on the blended CELTA course. Should I do the same? I cannot answer these 5 questions without involving the users, so I'll focus on these questions during the first iteration of the MyBlend Cert TESOL course. To conclude, despite the unscientific nature of my evaluation process, it has revealed several areas for improvement and clearly illustrates what Sonamo and Calc describe as a spiral design process. And finally, thanks for watching.